Hello and welcome to another episode of Prodigy Search Presents. I'm Mark Rush Jr., partner at Prodigy Search. Today it is my sincere honor to welcome Meghan Duggan, and while she needs no introduction, she is a three-time Olympic medalist, 2018 Olympic champion, which I think everybody should know about, right? I think everybody should be pretty much brought up to speed on that one. Seven-time world champion and the captain of the women's national team, of course. But Meghan, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you for having me on.
So I know this is new news, relatively new news, but after an incredibly successful career, you recently made a decision to retire. Congratulations, first and foremost. I hope most people are congratulating you on that decision. Not sadness, but congratulations. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. There's been a lot of outpouring of support and congratulations coming in for sure.
So you mentioned, I think, in a few different places where I read and seen, you made it based on gut instinct. I'm sure there's more that went into it than gut instinct, but trusting how you felt, right? Trusting your decision, and it's probably been something, I'm guessing, as a high level athlete, obviously, that you have to do. You do have to trust your instinct, and so I'd love for you to talk about that, right? Not just in your decision to retire, but throughout your athletic career, trusting your gut instinct.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. I'm a big believer in trusting my gut. I've always lived my professional and my personal life based on kind of what I feel in my heart and soul and in my mind. And certainly this was a huge decision for myself and my family, and not a decision that I made lightly, but one that, involved a lot of discussion with my wife and what was important for us and where we were at right now and just how I felt. I was really happy with my experience as an athlete. I had a wonderful career with Team USA, been playing hockey a long time, and was just felt ready and excited about what's next. And that is the exciting part, is getting to figure out what I want to do next. And there's a lot of different areas that I'd love to jump into and that I'm passionate about. And right now it's just kind of not jumping into anything too quickly, enjoying, my 1 month of retired life right now so far, enjoying some family time, and then thinking about what that next step is.
I think it's such a critical thing. This chance to, not that this was any more unique time to do it in this year and during these months, but taking the time to truly just digest and relax and take it all in rather than jumping at the first thing that comes your way. So good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've often talked about, and people have pointed out, your leadership. So no sense in beating around the bush. Let's talk about your leadership style and your philosophy. You've motivated and guided your peers, plenty of others, youth up to your level, and teammates at the highest level of competition. How have you led, and with kind of what mentality, right? I'm sure you've been shaped by various coaches and other leaders, people that have been captain when you were younger. So how, talk about your leadership style and approach.
Yeah, one of the greatest things, in reflecting on my retirement has been reflecting on my leadership and how it's evolved. As a young kid in youth sports or in high school sports, I was, thrusted into a lot of different leadership roles. I think mainly just because of my personality. I was outgoing and outspoken and not afraid to, engage in discussion, whether it was a difficult one or an easier one. And so I think I started to develop a leadership style at a young age, and then it kind of continued to evolve over a lot of different experiences that I've had. And being a captain at higher levels in college at Wisconsin, or with the US team, at the World Championships or at the Olympics, I've had many ups and downs, many challenges. My leadership style has grown and changed and evolved, and like I said, been challenged. And I think the one thing that I've, learned that I've had success with or have realized is really at the true core or importance of leadership, is really just that honesty, that openness, that trust, fostering an environment amongst your teammates that, we are all kind of in this together, even though we do things different ways, and just trusting in, the actions of your teammates. Trusting in, each other and the greater goal of the group. And as long as you have your teammates' trust, you can be open and honest, and you can communicate through difficult times as to why certain teammates are doing different things. I think you're going to be able to lead, in a successful way. I've been challenged in that a lot along the way. I've learned a lot about myself, and and managing different personalities and different teams. But I think as a leader, fostering that openness and that communication and trust and honesty is really, really important and crucial to the success of a group.
It's fascinating, right? Whether it be your time at Wisconsin or any of the more recent years at the Olympic level, people come from different backgrounds and different histories, playing and otherwise, and so you're right. It's not the easiest to navigate how to lead, and especially when they are peers, right? When they're at your level, people that have different life and worldly experiences. So I think I love that you've adapted and evolved on those fronts.
Absolutely.
You and I hope that it's okay to share that we first started talking about board roles and serving on a board with the U.S. Center for Safe Sport and talking about the mission and goals of organizations like that. But you currently serve, and you have in recent years served on a few different other boards and hold leadership positions on committees. And two that I wanted to talk about, if you're okay with it, is the board specifically focused on Women's Sports Foundation and the Player Inclusion Committee with the NHL, right? And two organizations that have lofty goals and have missions and again ultimate objectives that they want to try to achieve that I think would further the advancement of a more diverse sport of hockey, right? And again, Women's Sports Foundation is more broad, I know, than just hockey. But can we maybe talk about those two organizations in particular, the Sports Foundation and then the Player Inclusion Committee, in terms of the messages and maybe the value organizations like these can bring?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I mean, it's an honor to be a part of such impactful and highly thought of organizations. For me, the Women's Sports Foundation, I've been a part of for, the last handful of years, and it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, the Women's Sports Foundation mission is to support all women in all sports everywhere. And that has been at the cornerstone of my life since I was a young kid. My life as a young girl was transformed through sport. And even as a woman now, my life will continue to be intersected with sport. I am who I am, and I developed certain personality traits. I was introduced to people and went certain places because of sport. So I'm very passionate about, girls and women in sport and making sure that everyone has equal access. And so that partnership in that marriage is an absolute no-brainer. And I love the work that they do. I love being a part of the different events and engaging with young girls in sport whenever I can. And that's, I look forward to years of work with them because it's so near and dear to my heart. The NHL Player Inclusion Committee is a new committee that, again, super honored and excited to be a part of. We just recently had, our kickoff meeting within the last couple of weeks, and it is a passionate, driven, focused group that is really looking to make hockey, the sport of hockey, men's, women's, in this country, everywhere, a more inclusive and diverse sport that is welcoming to all sorts of communities in underrepresented groups. And that is as well everything that I stand for and that I'm excited about. So eager to continue to get to work with that group as well as the Women's Sports Foundation.
And your work with both of those, I think certainly can have its tie-ins to your playing days, right, on the professional hockey side, across the various leagues you played for, and in the fights with players on the player association side, the fights you've had for equality and opportunity, in terms of the status and the state of some of those professional hockey leagues. I'd love for you to talk about the fight, right, with living wages and again more opportunity. Think about along the lines of Title IX, but Title IX applied here in this case to the various leagues that you played in, and hopefully they succeed and thrive in the long term. But with that comes supporting those athletes and those players. And so can you talk about the fight for not just living wages and livable wages, but certainly other resources and tools for the players as they want this to be a career for them, but clearly there's an imbalance.
Yeah, certainly on the women's professional hockey side, the fight for, a livable wage, and equity in support and resources, in marketing and PR and promotion, that fight continues. And it's something that we've made a lot of progress in those areas, certainly with our U.S. women's national team taking a stand in 2017, and the formation of the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association as of lately in the last couple of years. And there's a lot of women, and a lot of strong male allies that are working to continue to move the needle in all of those areas and to push women's hockey forward. I think, like I said, we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go. So I'm certainly committed to lending my voice, lending my action, even though I'm not playing anymore, being a part of any, organization or group that I can, in order to continue to advance not only women in hockey, obviously that's my specific niche, but women in other sports as well, and women in other industries. And it's an uphill battle, I think, in a lot of different sports and a lot of different industries, but certainly up for the task.
You do need, you said something earlier, I love it. You do need your male allies though, right? You need them to support and to aid and to help where they can, and get out of the way, by the way, in other cases where they need to get out of the way, but it's great to have them as allies, as they should be.
Yeah, it's a huge component. And, there are a lot of strong male allies in the women's sports space that I know that, we're thankful for their allyship and eager to continue working.
So we talked about leadership earlier, and as a group here that does a lot in recruiting, leadership comes up quite a bit, but so does culture, and that's always a tricky word, and it's a loaded word, obviously. But a teammate of yours said that, a longtime teammate of yours said that that you helped grow the culture of women's hockey in this country, and that can't be understated. By the way, that's a big quote, and that's a big phrase. What does that mean to you that you were the one of, if not one of the key pioneers in growing the culture of women's hockey in this country? What does that mean about maybe the change of culture, perhaps that needed or was overdue?
Yeah, that fills me with pride. There's a lot of experiences and opportunities that I've had that I'm very thankful for, and have been exciting, standing on podiums and winning medals and celebrating with teammates. But, one of the biggest things that I'm proud of our team for is entering into difficult discussions and pushing on the boundaries of where women's hockey and women's sports can go, in order to change the game and leave it better than when we entered it. And I can definitely say that, being a 5-year-old kid, and never seeing women or girls play hockey, always being surrounded by the boys, never seeing an elite woman play hockey until I was much older, 25 plus years later, to see where the game is and how our team has kind of advocated for, and like I said, continued to push the boundaries of women's sports. I'm incredibly proud of that. It's certainly been a group effort, and that's one of the best things about hockey, I think, is the team aspect of it. But I'm so, like I said, filled with pride to know that our team has not only succeeded and pushed the sport further on the ice, but off the ice as well.
And do you look towards, I'm curious, do you look towards maybe what's going on in women's soccer or the WNBA in recent years, recent months perhaps, but also recent years, and the impact that they've had? Do you look at them, and I'm sure you clearly have crossed paths with many of them, and probably many of them are friends as well, but in terms of the impact they're trying to have beyond just their sport, right? Whether it be the wages, whether it be a number of different topics we've already covered today. But again, those two sports just came to mind off the bat, but do you look towards women's soccer and maybe the W as areas where they've had success as well, and both have pride, but also, hey, I wish we'd have that in women's hockey as well, in terms of the success they've had in making change, advocating for change?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I think about those two specific, women's organizations that you mentioned, women's soccer and the WNBA, I just think leadership in so many areas. I mean, the women's soccer, how they continue to fight for gender equality in their sport is unmatched. I think how the WNBA continues to fight for tons of, social justice issues, civil rights issues, that is unmatched. And it's exciting and empowering to support those women, to learn from them, to be able to apply things that they're doing into hockey or other industries. I think, those women, people should be looking at those women people from everywhere should be looking at those women to see what leadership looks like in many difficult areas.
It's really amazing, and hopefully this has been a nice an opportunity for those to be at the forefront, right? There's better exposure in the media, more exposure on digital platforms, et cetera. But they've really been out there, right? The good news is you're able to. It's not hard to find those games anymore, right? And therefore, they should be getting the support, especially when you can't go there in person nowadays. That you can still give them the support, over TV and virtually, and then obviously buy their product and everything that goes along with that to show actually long-term sustained support of that support. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah.
So we can't ignore the family component to this, right? And I know you talked about it. So this has been something that's very important to you. You gave birth to your son George earlier this year, February 29th of all dates, which is just funny on many levels. But in 2020, nothing's a shock anymore. So how are you balancing that? How are you balancing all the obligations that you have, and along with being a mom? You're still very involved in a lot of different things, but how are you balancing the family side of things?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely a juggle. And yeah, like you said, it's pretty fitting for 2020 to have him born on the leap year. When I found out my due date was late February, I thought, oh my gosh, this kid's going to be born on February 29th. I just know it. And you wait 9 months and there it was that day. So yeah, it's been, it's wonderful. First of all, I don't even remember what my life was like before. It's so special and empowering, and the greatest thing I've ever done is to not only carry and give birth, but be a parent. And it's changed my life and my wife's life in ways that I can't even begin to explain. So I think obviously with how everything in the world has been going, and the pandemic and the shutdown, it's certainly been difficult. We've been doing a lot of juggling in home without help, just not feeling safe or comfortable having people in the home. So the juggle is very real. Passing him back and forth between meetings. He's a little bit older now, so his schedule is a little bit more predictable, but still he's an 8-month-old kid, so he kind of rules the roost at times. But it's I think the one thing that's been so important is in these last 8 months since George has been alive is just recognizing how important it is for me to speak out and to engage in issues around parenting and motherhood, and still in this country how difficult that can be, and how moms are juggling, or parents are juggling kids and work, and all the stigmas around that. And so that's been something I've been learning a lot about and really want to be an advocate for, because parenting is the greatest thing I've ever done, but it's difficult. And a lot of parents I know would agree. So it's changed our lives in such a fantastic way. And it's been amazing to watch him grow and change. And, they change every day at this age. So it's a really fun time. And we've certainly got a lot of quality family time, the three of us in the house over these last couple months.
I'm glad to hear you talk about parenting and that balancing act. And again, it's perhaps, and I could say this, but it's perhaps more so on the working moms, really in our industry, right? Whether you're a professional athlete and you're trying to compete, or you just work in the sports industry in general, and you're trying to balance out the days, the hours, the games, and then obviously still being a mom. And clearly not to dismiss the dads, but it's a major thing that I think we're getting better at, but there's still plenty of work to be done for sure. So.
Definitely. There's room for growth there for sure.
So you mentioned when you were younger and not having, again, a ton of folks to look up to, although you did, you mentioned I think you said when you were 5, right? So I always like asking the question, when you were younger, right? If you had to give kind of a piece of advice to yourself when you were younger, well, again, not that young, but certainly maybe high school years or the college years, and you wanted to address the hardships, right? You wanted to address the things that you've talked about, you've been asked about many times. What advice would you give your younger self about some of those things that you would face as an adult athlete?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and that I try to talk to kids about, and especially, young boys and girls in hockey, is that hockey is a game of mistakes, like life, right? None of us are perfect. I am admittedly very type A, very strong personality, and have tried to be perfect in a lot of areas, and obviously realized as I've kind of matured in my life through sport and leadership, in my personal life, is that you can't be perfect. And that certainly is the case, like I said, in sports and out. So I encourage kids to, one, you have to have fun with it. You have to love what you do. You have to be excited to go to the rink every day, or the field, or whatever you're doing. And just know that you're going to make mistakes, and that's fine. And the biggest thing that I've learned is, how do you grow from those mistakes, right? Being someone that, quote unquote, failed twice of achieving my ultimate goal of winning a gold medal in the 2010 and the 2014 Olympics, and having been the captain of that 2014 team. I mean, I beat myself up like crazy after not being able to lead our team to the gold medal in 2014. It was a really difficult time for me, but what I learned is, yes, that was a failure in my life. That was a mistake. That was a bump in the road. But how our team kind of pivoted and grew from that, and how we transformed and changed, said a lot about our group, and that's what it's about. So can't be perfect all the time. You're going to fall on your face, going to make mistakes, but how do you learn from it? How do you pivot and transform and grow into something else, I think, is very important.
Learning from silver medals. That's a difficult thing to learn. 2 of them, yeah, of course. I think it's the loaded question, and maybe a lot of people are curious about it. Maybe you don't have an answer for it either today, but what's next? Where do you go from here? When the time where I'm sure it'll come, right? Where aside from the family, retirement will become boredom, right? And then you'll go, well, what's next, right? And you're already involved in a lot of things. But when do you think you'll move away from, I'm retired, to what's next?
Yeah, definitely, the loaded, if not the $1 million question in my life right now, that I've been getting a lot, as you can imagine, and but also exciting to talk about. I mean, I made this decision to step away from being a player, obviously for a variety of reasons, and that it felt right, and I'm excited about what's next. Some of the best advice that I've received in these last couple of weeks, just from some idols and mentors, is one, you don't have to jump into anything right away. You have a lot to offer, and think through and figure out what you want to do next. So definitely taking that advice. But I think outside of that, I mean, there's so many different areas that I'm passionate about and I'm excited about. I want to continue to have an impact in hockey, and whatever that looks like. It's played such a huge role in my life, and it's so important to me from the youth level, from a professional level, on the women's side, on the men's side, just to keep being involved in and growing the game. And like I said, having an impact. I think, with that being said, hockey's given me a platform to be able to advocate for underrepresented groups, and to continue to push the boundaries of where we are as a society today, and in all different industries, obviously, again, sports being the closest to my heart. So, we talked about the player inclusion committee with the NHL, and excited to continue the work there. And then obviously, excited about the job and the importance of being a mom. And that's certainly not to be overlooked. And like I mentioned, something I've learned a lot about, and the challenges and all the new things ahead that come with that. So a lot to think about, a lot that I want to do and be involved in, and certainly just taking my time to iron out exactly what that looks like right now.
So if George wants to play hockey one day, I fully support him being a hockey player.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll fully support him doing whatever he wants, but may get the skates on him sooner rather than later.
Well, we talked, just to wrap it up, we talked a lot about this internally when we asked, before we asked you to join us today, and thank you for doing that. We've been engaged over the last couple of years with the folks involved in the Willie O'Ree story and his film, and obviously you talked about hockey giving you the platform, and so just like him in many other respects, and I don't think it'll be felt now, but it will be felt in the future. Your impact on the game, not just for women, but across the board, and again, that was important to us. That's why we wanted to have you on today, is to talk about those things, and also because it's exciting to figure out what's next, and hopefully we can be part of that. But I know there's a lot of different other folks that are going to be calling, emailing, banging down your door and your agent's door for what's next. So, Meghan, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate the conversation and the great questions. So, look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks, Meghan. Take care.
Thank you.